Hey there, welcome to Board Game Hot Takes, the podcast where we give our immediate reactions to the hottest board games just minutes after playing them. My name's Tim.
And this is Chris.
This is Adam.
But today, instead of giving our hot take review of a game we just finished playing, we're going to talk about the things that we actually agree on for once. We're going to take a look back at some of our unanimous takes on board games and see why they work for us and see if we still agree on them. But before we do that, I've got a poll to discuss.
Wait, hold on. Unanimous takes? Isn't that against the rules? Isn't the whole point of this that we're supposed to disagree about things?
No, Chris, you got it all wrong. You don't have it right either, man. We'll get into it later, but both of you guys are wrong.
Oh, man.
Chris, just quiet down right now. I'm going to jump into our Twitter poll, okay? So I've got a Twitter poll. I asked, does the size of a board game's box impact your buying decision? If so, what would stop you from buying? And these are the options I gave. Number 1, never. Number 2, if the box is huge. Number 3, if not standard. And number 4, if the box is small. So let me ask you guys, do you agree that the only thing that would impact your buying decision would be if the box is huge?
That's sort of the way I lean. If a box is too big and I don't know, is the box half full of huge plastic miniatures that I don't really need every time? Is it like Cthulhu Wars? Is it like, what's that solo Cthulhu game that just has all this, like, you're not going to use 2/3 of the stuff in there every time you play. So that gets me a little frustrated. If I'm going to buy a big old giant box, I want to use all the miniatures, all the little pieces in there, all the little knickknacks, all the dilly-dallies. I want to use that every time. I don't want 2/3 of a box to be for storage or for air or for just to like grab my eyes on the shelf of the store. Look at this bigger box. It must have better gameplay. It has potential to get me very frustrated. So that's how I lean in this poll.
Chris is shaking his head over here, like, so he doesn't agree with Adam here. But first, I want to jump in and mention that the reason I made this poll, the reason this question came up, is because of a comment Chris made to me last weekend. And I was talking about how I just love how Garfield Games puts these kind of like meaty Euros into these little tiny boxes in their West Kingdom trilogy. And it makes me happy. Like, it's like this game is compact and it has a full game in it, and it's good. It doesn't take up a lot of space. And Chris looks at me and he goes, Tim, does the box really matter? And I argue that it does matter to some extent. So Chris, how did you answer this? Does a box size ever impact your buying decision?
I like big boxes, and I cannot lie, because you can fit more cool mechanisms into a bigger box, right?
No.
I know I should say that no, the box doesn't make any difference. I know, but the reality is a big box catches my attention. Fair or unfair, I see a small box and I'm like, yeah, whatever, not that interested. But I see a big box with the cool art on it and I get really excited. If it comes in 2 boxes, even better. And if it has a big box for it, like, the big box expansion stuff, I'm sold.
Chris, look at your box. It is so big.
Yeah, so Chris, that's interesting. I mean, I guess I knew that about you already. You're trying to compensate for something, I'm sure. But here's how the people answered on our Twitter poll. 58% said the box didn't matter at all. 34% agreed with me and Adam that if the box is huge, it might impact their buying decision. Now, I got to take a step back here. Does a huge box impact my buying decision? If it's a great game and it happens to be in a big box, or if it's a game I'm really excited about, I probably will buy it regardless. And if it's a game that I love and there's lots of, content in there, then that's fine. I don't mind. Like, give me a big box with everything in it. I'm fine with that. But I'm going to be definitely more hesitant, like, about a huge box. I have to know it's going to be an amazing game before I buy it in that situation. 4% said if it's not standard. So they really like, these are the OCD people on our Twitter feed that are just like, if it doesn't match up with the rest of the boxes, doesn't line up, that's going to make me unhappy. And 4% lined up with Chris here. If the box is too small, then it might impact their buying decision. Chris, you're in the minority. I think that's pretty consistent for you, though.
Well, that's because, not a sheep.
I'm going to say some more stuff here about giant boxes and how they can be dangerous. There's some examples of great boxes that are giant, too. Look at the box for Eclipse. Everything in that box is fantastic. It's all efficient. Every little player, I don't know what it is, container has all the ships in there. It has a little tracker, a little production tracker. It's such efficient use of box that it makes me happy. But then you look at a box like, I don't know, what's in Cthulhu Wars there, Chris? Isn't it like 90% air and foam and wasted space and bad gameplay? What do you got in there?
I think that was just such a load of nonsense. I don't even know where to start.
Low hanging fruit.
So wait, first of all, did you say Cthulhu Wars or Cthulhu Death May Die?
Either one, they're both pretty mediocre.
Oh, man. Well, okay. So Cthulhu Death May Die, it's a lot of expansion content. It's a lot of the variety content. So I will give you that you don't need to have all of that. And there's boxes that you never open up because it has the alternate bad guys, the alternate player characters, the alternate cards. And so I think it's important, though, because you're going to pull them out at different times, like when you want to change up a mission or a story.
Okay.
And Cthulhu Wars has got these like 5-foot tall minis, so you have to have a big box for that.
And you have to have 5-foot tall minis to play the game with, so that makes sense. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, here's how some folks responded in the comments. And by the way, if you've ever listened to our show before, I never remember to mention that you should follow us on Twitter at BG_hot takes. So a little plug there for that. First time I ever called it out on the show. Scott and Phil, right down the block, Board Gaming, said, I always get excited when we get a new big box because it looks so exciting and you know it will usually be filled with all kinds of stuff and good storage. I do always regret it a little when we go to find storage for it on the shelf, though. So, yeah, exciting, right? A lot of potential there. But where are you going to put it? Seth Gonzalez said, the bigger the box, the more the goodies, storage space be damned. So he answered that question right away. Mel Morris, always classy, said, board games speak for does size matter. Thanks, Mel, for making me chuckle this week. Appreciate it. Temple of the Hut said, giant games like Gloomhaven are intimidating. So some people like just having a huge box. It just means, you know, it's going to be more stuff you got to process, more stuff to punch, more stuff to set up, more rules to deal with. So, you know, maybe a little bit less approachable because of a box size. So, you know, lots of interesting comments on here. You guys should go check it out. Scott P said, my shelf space has gotten really limited. I won't impulse buy big box anymore, but will still with small box games. And that's kind of what I was saying, right? Like if it's a smaller game, sounds kind of interesting, I'm more likely to just give it a shot, bring it in. But if it's a huge box, no way. I have to know it's good. I probably played it already, or it has to have a really great pedigree for me to pick it up. So that's how I feel about it too. Well, that will wrap up that poll. Let's talk about our feature topic, which is takes that we all agreed on in the past. And Adam's going to kind of lead the conversation here. He had some surprises for us. He's going to bring up some things that he thinks we'll all agree on, and we'll see if we do. So Adam, take it away.
Yeah, so I was reading the Twitters, and I think it was Riley Stock, or maybe somebody else said that, hey, they really enjoyed listening to our little disagreements and the way we kind of feud with each other and bicker and this and that. But it's also kind of nice to hear when we agree on things. And I think he was referencing Wonderland's War specifically. So that got me thinking, well, what are some things that we have agreed on throughout the course of the show, whether it be games that we all liked or games that we all disliked? So my plan is to throw out some games to you guys, and I think that these are games that we're all going to either agree that we liked or agree that we didn't like. So here we go, Unanimous Takes. First, I'm going to start with some games I think we didn't like. We'll start negative, and then we'll end with some positive. There's a couple trivial cases here. Marvel United, and I think Diplomacy. And those are just kind of ones, I've never touched Marvel United. You guys have said enough bad things about it that I don't even want to try it now. You guys have ruined it for me. I don't want to play it. Diplomacy, I already had bad thoughts about already. Chris is involved in this. It sounds like an atrocious game of Diplomacy. I don't want to ruin it in case his allies are out there listening to us, but it sounds like he's not having fun. And I think, Tim, your thoughts on Diplomacy kind of echo mine.
So first on, let's talk about Marvel United for a second, okay? I played it one time. I thought the game was very mediocre, but it was fine. And I ranted about it when we talked about it just because of how much people like threw money away at that game that was very simple, kind of mediocre. In my opinion, I don't hate it. I don't have anything against Marvel United. I have something against CMON and their FOMO and all the plastic they're putting into the world for a crappy game that's not worth all that crap. Nobody wants it. But, you know, I don't know, Adam. Maybe you'd like Marvel United. You probably wouldn't, though. It's not a good game.
And I don't hate any game, including Marvel United. I mean, I kind of make fun of it because it's fun to be, you know, a little bit controversial. We are hot takes after all, right? But I don't hate it. I felt kind of the same way about it that Tim did, and I just didn't have a lot of fun. I mean, there's a lot of games that I just play and don't have a lot of fun, but I don't recall ever going through a game. Actually, I take that back. I think once or twice I've gone through a game where I'm just like, that was horrible. I hate this.
Okay, well, maybe I'd like to hear about that a little later on. All right, the first game I'm going to bring up that I'm not so sure about, but I think we would all move along or decide not to play it. Windward. We played this game. I had high hopes. I was kind of enjoying it. I thought there would be some interesting decisions and ride this wind and do this and fly to the other side of the world and pop back out the other side, Pac-Man style. But it ended up being a little convoluted, and you have these little dinghies. We didn't really get the hang of these little dinghies you're sending out there, and there's a lot going on, a lot of rule book, a lot of reading, a lot of learning going on for what ended up falling kind of flat. What do you guys think about Windward?
Now, Chris, we didn't originally have a unanimous takes here because we ended that show and I hated it. I really didn't like that game at all. Adam was wanting to try it again, and you were excited to try it again. You bought it like later that week. So how do you feel about it now? Would you agree with Adam that it's something you probably don't want to go back to?
Well, it's hard to say. I have to agree and disagree with what Adam said because the game definitely has problems. But let me focus on the good for a second. One of the best out-of-the-box productions I've ever seen in a game. These colored minis and beautiful pieces, and the monsters are awesome, and the board is this cool planet hex board, and so that looks great. I also still am fascinated by the mechanisms in this game. I mean, the wind thing that controls where you go, I don't get why this game has problems. I honestly look at it and I think to myself, that all sounds great, but then I play it and it just ends up being not that fun, but I can't understand why I'm not having fun. It's really a conundrum for me. I puzzled over this one. So I still keep it, and I probably won't get rid of it, and I still want to try it again, but I just can't. I'm just having a hard time having fun with it. It's such a weird thing.
All right, fair enough.
Adam, you don't want to go back and try it again? Because when we finished that episode, you were kind of interested. You were still intrigued by it.
Yeah, I was thinking about trying it again after we played it that first time. And then I heard Chris go and play it again. And it seemed like after the second time he played it, he still didn't have too much fun playing it. But he's right. Those mechanisms are cool. It looks like, going with the wind and tacking into the wind and moving this way, moving that, finding a path to get where you need to go. That seems kind of fun to me. But am I going to go and seek this game out over some of the other games that I know I'm going to have fun playing? I don't think so. But from what I'm hearing from the group, it sounds like Windward is not quite a unanimous take. Almost there, but not quite.
But kind of ironic that it was after the episode that I went and bought it. So at the time, it wasn't a unanimous take, but it kind of became one.
Right? Okay, well, because that's debatably a unanimous take.
That should have been a no-brainer. I don't even know why we're...
It should have been a no-brainer. But we can't even agree to disagree on that. Next up, and Chris, I don't know if you have played this one, so I don't know if this one will count. Tim, this used to be pretty high on this one, but I think you recently sold it. The game I'm talking about here is Whistle Mountain. Is that right, Tim? I remember we played it, you had fun. There's like workers that fall into the water and they drown, and that's kind of weird. And then there's these little engines that you get, but then you don't even get to use these engines. Other people do it. And I don't know, this game, it was not fun for me. It was weird. Do you still own this game, Tim, or did you sell it? And then, Chris, I don't even know if you play this, so I don't even know if this game counts.
You talked about it like it was fun, Adam.
I've never played this game, but I did hear your review of it. And I think that was actually one of the first episodes where Jen sat in, and I was on my cross-country trip at the time. And so I was interested to hear how it went when you guys did your review without me, and it was actually a really good review. But one of the funny things is I felt like you guys liked it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really interesting because it sounded like a pretty fascinating game. So you convinced me, but I haven't played it. So now maybe I'm unconvinced.
Adam, your memory is so bad. Chris, you should play it. It's a great game. And I did it left my collection only because it wasn't getting played, but it's a good game and I would love to play it again. And Adam, you reviewed it and you said you totally enjoyed it. You should go back and listen to that review because you actually liked it at the time. So you may have forgotten that. Maybe it fell in your opinion, or maybe you just lied on the episode. But if you go back and listen to that episode,
none of that could be...
You said you'd request...
Tim, none of that could be true. That game's like pretty boring. It doesn't make any sense. There's water that's like going up on this canyon. Apparently there's a dam that's... Where are the workers that are like destroying the dam that's flooding this mountain? A mountain's flooding? What's even happening? It doesn't make any sense. All right, another game.
No, it's a very clever worker placement game, and I would absolutely 100% go back and play this game again. Love to.
All right, Adam, what you got next?
Next game I'm going to talk about. This has to be a unanimous take. This is a Rainer Knizia. Chris's always don't like games. I'm talking about Samurai. We played this at Palm Springs Con, TimCon. I was excited to play it, but afterwards I was pretty ho-hum about it. We played it twice even because we thought it might be better the second time. It was just as average the second time as it was the first time. Do we have consensus that Samurai isn't one of our favorite games.
I still can't believe we almost never play a game twice in a row, and that's the one we picked to play.
First of all, I enjoyed the first play of it. I should say that I played it in the past one time or a couple times and enjoyed it. And I played the first play of it. So Steve felt like he didn't get a good shake though, because it was a short game. We did it in 30 minutes. That was his pick. He's like, can we play again? And so I was happy to go back a second time. But on the second play, it did get stale for me. So I don't think this game has staying power. I don't think it's a fun game once you kind of get through the discovery of, here are the things I can do. Here are the ways I can try to stave off my opponents and take advantage of them, because then everybody's in the same page and it just grinds to a halt. It got pretty tired quickly for me. So I would agree that this is a game that I would not request to play again at this point.
I would run screaming from the room if somebody proposed playing it again. I hated that game. That's one of the few games I played that I really hated. And I just, man, that thing was so unfortunately abstract. And I mean, so what? I'm going to take over Japan by dropping rice and Buddhas and hats? I mean, come on, what is that all about? What does that even mean? And then this whole thing with this Reiner Knizia thing about circling cities, which is in like every game he's ever done. I don't get it. I just don't get it. So I'm with you on that one, Adam.
Great. That's fantastic to hear. And what was the thing with he's always got some weird trick with scoring that some people just think is amazingly clever. Oh, you didn't have enough of the hats, or you had 2 out of the 3, or 1 out of the 3 hats. I had 2 out of the 3, so I win, and you only had 1 out of the 3. Whatever, man. That's okay. I get it. You got some clever way for people to win the game. That's not that fun to me.
The scoring was amazingly clever, and that was the best part about it.
All right. So it sounds like we do have our first unanimous do not enjoy game, Samurai. Let's put it in the books. Next game. This is a game we reviewed early on in the podcast. I think it was one of our first 10 episodes. It had a nice production, but that's kind of where it ended, I think, at least for me. I'm talking about Vindication. This was turn cubes and other colored cubes and get some cards, and I got lucky and I got this card that gives me a ton of points for having the right cubes, and now I won the game. What do you guys think of Vindication?
Wait, before Tim says anything, I think there was a point where Tim had like a Vindication fetish. So I don't think this is going to be unanimous. I think Tim is going to say good things about it. I'm with you. Didn't like that one. But Tim, what about you?
Listen, I think Vindication's all right, and I would not mind going back and playing it. I think it is very dry. It tries to be thematic, and it doesn't actually do that well. So, but it's a game I actually enjoyed, and I would be happy to play it. I have to say, though, I'm a little bit less excited after playing the designer's follow-up game, Unsettled, which I absolutely hated. So definitely not hot for me, but if somebody pulled it out, I'd be happy to sit down. I definitely wouldn't say that I'm unanimous with you guys. I enjoy this game. I think it's all right.
Another game that didn't make it. Vindication did not make the unanimous list. Up next, the final one that I have for the no thank you, will not play board game hot take list is another game we played early on in the show. This one is Origin of Species. And I had high hopes for this one. I love the theme. I love Darwin's journey and the documenting of finches and all this different wildlife and the Galapagos and the divergence and evolution, the way life works. I love learning about this stuff and reading about it and seeing it. But the gameplay just fell a little flat for me. I tried it again after that play, and it was flat and kind of long and not too exciting. So what do you guys think of Origin of Species?
Hey, Adam, before we jump into that, was that a Kickstarter game?
Yes, it was, Chris.
Okay. Because my immediate reaction is you're talking about it, and I don't actually remember the game that well, but I do remember it had this feeling of kind of like one of those half-baked, kind of flabby, unfocused Kickstarter productions. But having said that, I everything you said about the theme being interesting, I agree with all that. It was the gameplay. The theme was fascinating. That it was actually pretty cool looking, even if I recall. It was just the gameplay that just killed it.
Well, I don't remember much about how the game plays, and I haven't really given it much thought since we played it, so it's not something I'm going to ask for. I remember liking it more than you guys did, though, but I don't remember much more beyond that. So I'll go with past self and say I'd be okay playing it again, but I'm definitely not excited.
Okay, this brings up another question for me. If a game gets that kiss of mediocrity, isn't that just as good as a death sentence? When are you going to go back to a game that is the middle of the road? When are you going to do that?
Well, I think that's the reason why we ask the question, at the end of every review, and that is, would you request to play it again? Because I don't really care what your number rating is. You can rate something a 7 or an 8 or a 9, but if you're not going to be asking to play it, then yeah, it does get the kiss of mediocrity, and it's not going to come back. Not for me anyway. It's definitely not going to come into my collection. So I agree. If I'm not thinking about it, if I don't want to go back and play it, then it probably doesn't deserve to be played. And there's plenty of other things that I'd rather play. You're right. I'm on board with you guys on this. I didn't hate it as much as you did on the first play of it, but happy to skip it.
All right, so that is all of the games that I have proposed for the No Thank You, the pass list. It sounds like the only game that we all can agree on that we didn't really enjoy was Samurai, one of the most beloved Rainier Knizia games. We don't like it. Do you guys have anything you'd like to propose before I move on to the games that I hope we would unanimously agree that we love and aggressively recommend?
Wait, I have one I want to ask about, and I think, Adam, this is one of your games. Capital Lux II Electric Boogaloo. Did anybody like that game?
Chris, I enjoyed that game very much. I love the card play. There was a little bit of algebra going on, a little bit of addition. What does this add up to? What does that add up to? Oh, somebody just played a card. Now I have to add it again. But having said that, I haven't gone back to it. It's been sitting in the box on the shelf over there. I keep looking at it. Every time I look at it, I hear Chris's voice going, "Oh, this game stinks. You're never going to play me. Adam, why don't you just get rid of me?" But I still have it. I still want to go back to it. I still think there's something there. And that's where I sit with Capital Lux II.
Capital Lux II is grade school math, the card game, and I don't ever want to go back to it. So I'm on board with you on that one, Chris. But I do have a game that I think we were unanimous on, and it was fairly recent, which may be why Adam didn't bring it up, but that was Merchants of the Dark Road.
Yeah.
That was a game that I almost want to disagree that we were unanimous on, because you guys seem to really hate it, and I just found it so mediocre that I could care less if I ever played it again. I think about playing that game and I fall asleep. And so I think that's one where we're all pretty much not going to sit down and play it if we can help it. Gun to my head, maybe, but that's probably about the only situation.
Tim, if your comment is thinking about playing this game makes me fall asleep, I think that's a pretty confident negative review.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. We're unanimous on that.
Okay, it sounded like you were backing off it a little bit. I wasn't sure. That was a hard one to come down hard on, because I remember watching the rules video for that, and it sounded like so much fun. It seemed like it would be interesting and enjoyable, and then we played it, and it just fell so flat, which is even more difficult given the fact that it was quite a pretty game. It looked really nice. The art was delightful, I thought. And the production was actually really excellent, which is a huge thing for me in a game. I'm willing to forgive a lot of stuff for a good production. And this game had it, and it still couldn't overcome the lackluster gameplay.
Merchants of the Dark Road. I'm getting out my quill, pen, and ink and writing it on the canvas paper here. It's going into the archives along with Samurai as two games that Board Game Hot Takes do not enjoy.
I think Merchants of the Dark Road is a great litmus test for whether a reviewer actually thinks about the games that they're playing and doesn't just get caught into the hype of getting a new Kickstarter game, because I've heard some reviews on that they couldn't have possibly put real thought into the experience they were having when they were talking about enjoying it.
There's a hot take.
That's a hot take right there. Oof.
Take that, other reviewers.
Take that, other reviewers. Yeah, watch out. All right, moving on to the positive, unless I hear something from the members of the board.
No, man, I'm ready to move on to the positive stuff. I like saying good things about games. I hate saying bad things about games. I like saying good things.
All right.
I like saying happy things.
So the one that started it off, this is kind of the trivial case. This is the easy one. This is the one we played most recently. This is Wonderland's War. I got to play it with you guys on Tabletop Simulator. You guys got to play it in real life in Portland at this amazing game bar. It's an easy yes for me. This game has color, has pizzazz, has a fun theme. It's got chips, this tactile sense to it. It's got this great drafting round, and it's got some area control. We've talked about it a lot, but Wonderland's War, I'm going to mention it again as one of my aggressively recommends, and I can't wait to play this game again.
This was a rare case where when we were playing the game for the first time, several times through the game, Adam was saying, man, this has some cool things going on. Wow, I really like this game. And Adam's never saying that stuff during it. That's usually me. I'm usually the one that's like, oh, that's really cool. That's an awesome mechanism. And this time Adam was doing it. So that got Adam's high praise. But yeah, 100% agree on this. I think the fact that the day that the Kickstarter version went up for sale on Skybound's website, and all three of us backed it within a minute of it going up, I think that's a pretty good recommendation from us, that this is a game that everyone should play, and you're probably going to enjoy it.
I think what you just said, that has never happened ever. It probably never will happen again, frankly. And I love the fact that Adam managed to work in pizzazz into his review of it. I agree. The game has moxie.
Great. Okay, Wonderland's War is, I'm getting my scribe over here. I've now hired a scribe, and they are jotting it down into the official archives. It's on the good list. The next game up. Now I look at this list, and it's kind of biased, because it's like mostly games that I've brought to us. So I don't want to think that I'm just like trying to promote the games that I've been like, hey, let's play this. Anyway, the next game up is a little trick-taking game that I was hesitant to bring out at TimCon. This is Shamans. I think I know the answer here, but maybe not. Maybe not everyone's as high on this one as I am. And I've only played it just the one time with you guys, and I had such great fun, such great laughs, such great moments of who's the shadow, who's a shaman, who's on the same team here, are we working together, who's working against us, am I going to get knifed right now? That's Shamans, one of my favorite game playing experiences, and I can't wait to get this one to the table again.
This is a great example of a game that I've only played once. It's been 8 months, but I think about it a lot. And so this is a game that I still, I enjoyed it when we played it, but it's not like on the Origin of Species where I just completely forgot about it and I don't think about it anymore. This is a game that I think about a lot, and I want to be playing it. So I'm still there. But Chris, you've bought this game, and I think you played it quite a bit. So how are you feeling with it now that you've actually got a chance to dig in a little bit further than we did?
I'm as high in this game now as I was when we played it that first time. That game is amazing, and I love to be surprised. I've learned to love finding out that I was wrong about something, and I've always said I don't like trick-taking games. And then we played Shamans, and I fell in love. This has actually become one of my go-to games when I'm playing games with non-gamers. So if I've got friends over and we're like, everybody's starting to get bored, and I can maybe work in hey, anybody interested in a board game? And they say, oh, like one of those big fancy boxes you got over there? And I say, no, not that. It's much simpler. It'll take me like 5 minutes to teach you. And we get to kill somebody, and we get to pretend you get to lie to your friends. And everybody that has tried it, gamer or non-gamer, has really enjoyed themselves. And I've probably played 20 plus games of it by now, and every single play I really enjoyed. And that's ranging from my 10-year-old son all the way up to my 80-something-year-old mother-in-law. Everybody likes this game.
Chris, so there hasn't been any plays where it fell flat with somebody, where they didn't enjoy it, they didn't seem to be into it?
No, not at all.
That's pretty impressive. That's cool. So yeah, I think you can, Adam, I think you can mark that, your scribe can put that one in the big book.
Scribe is writing it down right now. It's going on the aggressively recommend list, along with, so far, Wonderland's War. And the next game I have up, I'm a little curious about. This one is Anachrony. Now, I know, Tim, I think you and I are on the same page here. We both love this game. I was at your place a few months ago, and I saw it. I said, ooh, I want to play that game. We got it out. We played it. Had a fantastic time playing it. And Chris, I think you've played it once, maybe twice. What are your thoughts here on Anachrony?
I got to be a slight dissenter here. I did enjoy the play that we had of this game, but we were playing it on the 100% blinged out version. It had all the huge pieces. It had the metal cubes, which felt so good in your hand. And I think that hugely affected my experience of the game. If you said, hey, let's go play Anachrony again, I'd picture all that, that nice feeling material, and I'd say, yeah, let's do it. If you said, let's play Anachrony again, but it's all cardboard shits, I might just pass on that. So I don't want to overemphasize production, but I think that's one that leans heavily on the production. The play seemed a little bit overcomplicated and fiddly to me, but it wasn't bad enough to make me dislike it on the first play. So I can't completely disagree, but minor disagree.
Tim, any thoughts? Are you there?
Don't have any response to that nonsense that he just spouted.
Silence is consent.
I guess it's going to have to stay off the list, sadly. I thought we had another one, but we do not. Okay, moving on. This is another one that's tough because we haven't even played the final version of it. I'm worried about my own decisions in life bringing this one to the table. If you guys want to vote me off the board for bringing this game up, that's fine. But I'm talking about Voidfall. This is one of the latest games. It's not even out yet. It's from Mind Clash.
Mind Clash games, yeah.
So another huge productions, all kinds of beautiful artwork and spaceships on standees. It's marketed as a 4X Euro game. I was skeptical going into this one. We played it at the same time as Fractal, which is more of a traditional 4X. I ended up liking Voidfall much, much more. I thought the decisions were fun, and I thought for a Euro, it had such great theme, great choices, great arc. The more distance I got from Voidfall, the more I wanted to play it again. And that's right now where I sit with Voidfall. What about you guys?
I really liked the play of it. I really liked exploring the game. I have some concerns about it, so I did back it. I'm excited to get it. I'm excited to dig into it. I mainly have a concern about the combat in a game that's a heavy, long Euro, and the fact that if somebody isn't just planning around protecting, it's kind of got the scythe syndrome of, hey, I'm doing an engine building thing here, and then somebody just came and stole all my resources, which can't happen easily. And you can prep for it, but can still make you feel really crappy when it does happen. And I think that can happen potentially in this game. So I'll just say I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm very excited still. I'm very interested to see where this one sits with me after a few more plays. Chris, what about you? Do you think that this is a game that you would definitely recommend or definitely want to go back to?
I definitely want to go back to it. And like you, I bought it. So, I mean, that's the biggest compliment of all, I guess, right? That we played the game and then we end up spending $150, $180 on it, whatever it is for the big box with all those minis. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't a perfect game, but it looked really nice and it felt really nice and it had really interesting gameplay mechanisms. And I absolutely want to go back to it. Quite honestly, it was fiddly enough, like Mind Clash games can sometimes be, that I don't remember all the details of it, but I remember having a very good time and I'm looking forward to it. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, so again, the combat was kind of weird, and we'll see how that shakes out. It's still under production. I thought the combat was good enough that it didn't bug me. Another Euro game that has combat, Chris, that we've been playing a lot is Through the Ages. And that has this combat where you build up, you can plan for it, you know the strength of your team, your civilization, whatever, you know the strength of everybody else's. And there's these cards out there, you need to be wary of them because they can get played on you. But that's something you can plan for and mitigate. And I feel like that's a similar kind of feel in this game, which is another kind of resource management game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Make the scribe put this one down in pencil in case we need to erase it later.
I don't think we need pencil.
All right, the last game I'm going to propose to the board. And again, I won't feel bad if you guys poo-poo this one, but it's one of my favorites. This one is Smarphone Inc. Again, I brought it to Palm Springs, introduced it there. It has this area majority sense and kind of a financial game. You're dealing with smartphones, which is Tim's nemesis from college, and it's great. You're adding up money at the end of each round. Whoever has the most money at the end of 5 rounds is the winner. It's quick, it's snappy, it has a little bit of text building in there. I love this game. I'm not so sure how it was received by you guys. I think there's some sense of enjoyment, but does it get an aggressively recommend, want to play this one again? What's your guys' take on Smarphone Inc.?
I agree. It's definitely in there from my perspective. This is one that I've gone back to mentally a few times and thought about buying, and I haven't just because I'm trying to cut back on the number of games that I buy. But I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I think we all got a lot of good laughs about the theme. I think we all gave you a hard time about that, as we should for a game called Smarphone Inc. Because, I mean, Smarphone Inc. But once you get into it, it's so the opposite of a dry economic game. It moves quickly, it's elegant, it's slick, it looks nice, the production's great. I love was it 3-layer, 2-layer board, like the main board. That was pretty amazing. So the whole package, really enjoyed it.
Did you notice Chris keeps going back to the production? Like that's the main thing that makes him happy with games. Chris, I feel like there's some deep-rooted issues.
Well, it's one of the things that makes him happy, and that's no surprise. I think everybody knows what Chris is about.
Hi, Tim. Nice to meet you. My name is Chris.
Yeah, Smarphone Inc. is great. I agree. I would love to play this anytime. I would ask for it if it was sitting out on the shelf and a few people sitting around. It's a great game. So yeah, right on. You can write that one down.
All right, the scribe is putting it in, and that's the final game I have for Unanimous Takes. So just to recap, we have Wonderland's War made the list. Shamans made the list. Anachrony somehow did not make the list. What a shame. Voidfall, even though it's not out yet, made the list. That's weird. And Smarphone Inc. also made the list. Do you guys have any other games for consideration that we unanimously agree on?
I want to call out one that we definitely did not unanimously agree on when we reviewed the game, but I think you guys came around to my way of thinking. I want to hear if you agree with me, and that's Gaia Project. Gaia Project, which I consider one of the best Euro games of all time, and we have been playing a ton of it on Board Game Arena over the last several months, and you guys keep inviting me to games. Both of you do. So I have to assume that you are more excited about this game than when I first introduced you to it and told you it was the best thing since sliced bread.
I still have a hard time getting past that silly character art. I'm sorry. That's difficult. I mean, the weird monkey guy in the spacesuit. I mean, come on. But the mechanisms are a lot of fun, and I definitely have come around. And like I said, I love being surprised. I love finding out that something that I was skeptical of is actually a lot of fun, because there's more joy in life if you enjoy more things. And this is one that I've come around to seeing how much fun it really can be, and how many different opportunities there are for interesting decisions in this game. So I'm on board with Gaia Project for sure, even if I wasn't at the very beginning.
Tim, I love this game so freaking much. Gaia Project is just a fantastic game. I think the fact that it's on Board Game Arena has helped so much. I love playing this game async. I can open the board when it's not my turn. I'll look around. I'll kind of figure out the situation and which direction I want to go. I can plot it out. I have my little things, my little tricks I like to do. Oh, what a fun game. I can't get enough of Gaia Project right now. Who would have thought a game with such goofy looking art could be so rad? But I guess it's possible. Absolutely love this game. I'll have my scribe added to the list in very permanent ink.
And I do want to agree with something that Adam just said, that BGA was a big factor in that. If my only experience playing this was on TTS or even in real life, might feel different, but BGA makes it so slick and easy to play that I think that influenced the decision a lot.
I want to call out one more where I have to eat some crow, because this is a game that I've always enjoyed decently, but when we reviewed it, I even think I think I said I probably wouldn't ask for it because I'm not a fan of area control. And when we did our top 10 of all time last year and you guys asked me where this fell, I said I thought it fell somewhere in the mid 30s for favorite games of all time. And so this game has risen drastically for me, and I will request it all the time. In fact, I just did last weekend, and that's Blood Rage. And I think, curious about Adam, but I think that we would all agree that we're unanimously crazy about Blood Rage. Think it's a fun game. So you guys agree with that? Are we on the same page now?
One of my top 5 of all time.
I think this is one of the games that was introduced to me. We got to actually play it in person at Chris's house, I want to say, before everything went on lockdown. I had such a great experience, and now it's on Board Game Arena. We can still go back to it. We can play it again. Tim's gonna pick his freaking boats and try to get him destroyed and get all these points for him. I've been trying to go for the middle with varying success. This game is fantastic. I had a little bit of like, oh, the strategy is just the same. All you got to do is this, and then no, I got walloped the last like 3-4 times. So there's more there. I need to figure out what's going on. The challenge is still there. I want to dig in and find the little strategies. I want to beat Tim and his stupid boat strategy. And Blood Rage, another fantastic game, and that's interesting, Tim, that it's risen a lot for you.
So I've got a couple that I want to bring up, and honestly, at least one of them, I'm kind of shocked to my core that this one didn't make the list. And that is Dune Imperium. How could you not have included Dune Imperium on this list?
I was worried, Chris. I thought you're not the biggest fan of this one. I remember playing it a few times, and you're always kind of like, oh, I don't get this whole deck building thing, but the game seems okay, but I don't know. So I was worried about, I knew 2 out of the 3, Tim and I were solid lock-ins, but I wasn't going to bring it up if I wasn't sort of sure that you were in on this 100%.
Wow, I thought that I was less ambiguous about it. I mean, I think what you've been experiencing there is my frustration because I suck at it so bad. I'm terrible at this game. I've never even come close to being second in this game. It's embarrassing how bad I am at this game, but I really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it pulls together a lot of really interesting pieces and puts that puzzle together in a really cool way. The production is nice. The IP integration is really nice, especially if you like the movie, which I did a lot. I think it's a great game. I definitely think that belongs on the list.
Yeah, I agree with you, Adam. I would have been a little doubtful here too, because I remember Chris picked it when we played with Rise of X for the episode we reviewed it on. And I remember most of the time through that night, he kept saying, I can't believe I picked this stupid game. I hate this freaking game. But I do remember him saying at the end of the episode where he said, yes, I would ask to play it again. I think it's really cool. So he kind of sent mixed signals that night, but that's good to hear that Chris is that much on board that he was surprised we didn't pick it.
Yeah, like I said, I was probably just complaining because I suck at it.
Okay, I'm a little ambiguous on the expansion. I know on our initial play, I was really high on it. It almost seems a little bit like it unfocuses the game for me some. So, and maybe it's just because I'm bad at it that I haven't really figured it out yet. I do miss that base game focus. And maybe that is because there's only like, I don't know, 3 or 4. Tim's making all kinds of gestures over there because he always wallops me when we play the expansion. Tim, what are your thoughts? You really like the expansion here.
I really do. I don't really want to play it without the expansion anymore. I think I was starting to get, tired on the game. Like, it's a great game, but I was starting to feel like we were going through the same cycles. And with the expansion, I've had so much fun. I played it like half a dozen times with different groups now. And every time I just feel like there's interesting things to explore. I'm trying different strategies. It really just, it's kind of like, we talked about our play of Tapestry with both expansions in it last week. And that's how it feels to me. It feels like it completes the game. It finally gives me enough different paths where I feel like I would never get tired of it. There's so many possible things that I could go down. So I always want to play with the expansion 100%. So, Adam, I think you're right. You have lost miserably every time we played with the expansion. So maybe, once you finally figure out your strategy and start kicking my butt like you do in Gaia Project, maybe you'll like it more.
It's been a rough go at me lately for Dune Imperium.
So the more we think about this, the more I'm finding all of these games on my list that I think we all kind of liked. And I know we don't want to go through a million more games, but I just want to throw out a few more names, and they're all ones that I really like. You guys just tell me, agree, disagree. Granja.
I have to agree. Yeah.
Hard agree.
Welcome to.
Okay, so this game's fun, but this is not a game I'm going to be asking for all the time. So no, I'm not going to agree with you on that. It's a great game. This is not something that gets me excited. It's too late.
Yeah, I can't put this in the annals of aggressively recommend. It's a fun game though.
Adam, I've heard you don't want to be putting a lot of stuff in your annals anyway.
That's absolutely true.
All right, so moving on. Azul.
Same spot as Welcome to for me. And after playing Queen's Garden last weekend, I'm kind of picking on the little brother of Azul. So
I don't think that's fair. I don't think you can do that.
That doesn't make any sense, Tim.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm 100%. I agree. I agree on Azul. Azul's great.
All right.
Cascadia.
Yeah, I would agree with Cascadia, but I don't think Adam's going to. Yeah.
Disagree. It's a fun game.
What?
Yeah, disagree. How much time do you have to spend like grabbing a tile and filling it in the thing and grabbing a little circle and putting it in the thing, and then I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. I always win. I always beat you guys. That doesn't make it fun though.
All right. Well, fair enough. I probably have a few more I could throw out there, but I will stop there. And I wanted to throw out one more game, not because it was the strongest yes or the strongest no, but I felt like we had some of the most passionate feelings that we've ever had about a game. And there was disagreement on this one. Root.
Strongly agree.
I thought that game is actually pretty cool. I like that game. The asymmetry of it, I think, creates a lot of fun, interesting opportunities. I think it can be frustrating because you're playing an entirely separate game from everybody else. So you really have to learn every single faction that you're playing against. And that often feels like a bit too much of an investment to me. But overall, I think it's quite a fun game. And I think you guys hated Root.
I wouldn't say I hated Root. I think that it is not worth the investment in time that you're talking about for me. And I think that's the key maybe for me is that I like asymmetry, but I like moderate asymmetry. I want to be able to play the game no matter which side I'm playing from and focus on the puzzle of the game itself and not focus on unwinding how does my specific faction work. That's not fun to me. So for me, I don't think Root's a bad game at all. Obviously, it's got a lot of fans, but I would skip on it.
I read today that real Root begins after your 40th play. And maybe that's a slight exaggeration, but I get the point there. There is a lot of investment. You have to learn what each faction can do and how to counter what each faction can do. And once you get to that point, I could see this game being just riotous and fun and amazing. But it didn't have that immediate draw to me. It's not something I want to put that upfront time into to get to that point, and I don't think I have the group that's going to want to play this game that many times over and over and over again. So if you have the right group, they're all invested, I could see this game being a fantastic time, but not for me.
That's my list.
All right, cool. So what do you guys think is the common thread between some of these? Like the things we really like, the things we don't like? I mean, it's clear that if it's got great production, then Chris is in on it. So that's pretty easy to find a common thread with Chris. You know, do you feel like there's anything that kind of fits? Now, I have one idea, but I want to hear from you guys first. Is there anything that you feel makes a game hit for our whole group or miss for our whole group?
I think in general, there's a certain level of engagement, and I don't know how to describe this. I don't want to say in terms of heaviness or lightness. There has to be that right brain groove, brain fold that it fills in, that a game fits into, that makes it fun. We were talking about Nemesis, and that would probably be a recommend from all of us if I had a chance to play it, because there's this series of decisions and interactions, and it's not trading this resource for that resource for this resource. It's a different way to do it. But Gaia Project is kind of trading this resource for that resource and this resource, but it has a nice arc to it. There's like an engine building aspect. It has to be, I think, first and foremost, kind of an engaging brain exercise and a brain challenge. I think we all have that little bit of competitive spirit. We all want to win. We all want to talk a little smack on each other. And I think that right competitive edge is something that's crucial in all these games. And that's something I enjoy most about playing games with you guys. We all have that competitive edge, but we're not like rub it in your face, ha ha ha, I'm the best at this, check me out. So these games do all have that little twist to them, but we all know that any one of us could win any one of these games on any given day. Unless it's Blood Rage lately, then I won't be winning it.
I think you're right, Adam. And I want to put another nuance on that. It often ends up being games where there's a lot of engagement with the other players around the table, but not necessarily direct conflict. Certainly there's some games that we played that everybody likes, like Blood Rage. Obviously, that's a direct conflict kind of game. But then there's games like Eclipse that I think we all like, but we also, some of us find frustrating from time to time because of the way that the direct conflict works. When we have that engagement around the board, like Gaia Project, for example, then I think that you get a real sweet spot.
Yeah, I think both of what you guys are saying is probably true to some extent. I would just add that there's a depth of decision making, but also a simplicity in the rule set. Usually, like I'm having a hard time fitting Voidfall into that category, but I think mostly, you know, if a game has a rule set that doesn't have a lot of edge cases, there's a very clear structure to the rules so that we can kind of focus on our strategy, but also it's not like spelled out for you, you know, like you have decisions to make. That seems to be something that fits with us pretty well most of the time. You're right, though, Chris, has to be a little bit of interaction or Adam doesn't like it. Has to be an awesome production or Chris doesn't like it. And has to be turning cubes into something else or I'm not going to like it. So it's kind of like a mix of all those things.
Tim, I want to try to simplify what you're saying. I want to say the rule set has to be, how do I want to say it? The investment has to be worth the rule set. What am I trying to say here?
Yeah.
What you get out of the rule set has to be worth learning it.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, right? Like you have to get enough gameplay out of whatever you invest into the rule set. So even if the rule set's heavier, you have to have enough fun decisions and enough fun opportunities for new strategies to explore and stuff to make it worthwhile. And so then there's like trade-off, right? We played the Great Wall last weekend, and it's a fun enough game, but I don't think you got enough unique and enough fun decisions out of all of the rules overhead that came with that. And maybe that's where something like Voidfall actually does feel okay, because it's a heavy rule set. It's going to take a while to learn. There's some edge cases, but there's so many interesting decisions to explore with that it makes it worthwhile. So Adam, I think you're right on there.
And for me, there's definitely something that eventually clicks and these rule sets all fall into place and they all make sense. Oh, like, why does this weird thing happen in Gaia Project? Oh, well, that makes sense after the third or fourth play because obviously it needs to happen that way. And once you get that mastery of that rule set, you just start flowing, and the game, you can concentrate on the gameplay rather than if you're doing the rules the right way.
I want to throw out another one that I think is not 100% true of all the games that we collectively like, but I think it's true of a lot of them. And that is an enjoyable theme, a fun theme, and especially if the theme integrates with the rule set. I think that really creates an environment that is so enjoyable. And even more so, I'll add one more layer to that. if the game has a sense of humor. I think almost every game that we've played where we really appreciated the sense of humor of it, we all really enjoyed. Wonderland's War is a great example. Clank, any of the Clank series games, it's the same kind of thing. One of the games we played a while back that we really enjoyed, Rap Gods, great sense of humor. And I think those kind of games where there's some theme and some humor to it, you get a lot of laughter around the table. And in my view, if we're sitting around the table laughing, that is a pretty good sign. That's a win.
Yeah, I'm glad you called out theme, Chris. That's a great piece of the puzzle, because otherwise, if it's too dry and the theme doesn't help explain the mechanisms and help you process them, then it's a miss for me most of the time. So yeah, I agree with that.
I totally agree with that, Chris. The theme is a big draw for me, even in something like Smarphone Inc., where you're like, oh, I could get some 4G technology. I could get some GPS technology. Oh, I can now play these little games on my phone. It's fun. That's stuff I grew up with, and I watched the advancement. I watched it going from Snake to Jumper Guy to Maze Runner Guy to whatever, so it was fun watching these technologies improve, and theme is a huge part of games for me. So thanks for calling that out.
All right, cool. Well, that was fun topic, Adam. Thanks for bringing that up this week and kind of leading the discussion. Some interesting surprises. We didn't get a chance to prep for that, and it was fun to talk through those and revisit some old games that we haven't looked at for a little while. All right, so I did want to, before we close out for the day, I did want to call out a listener who left us a really nice review on Apple Podcasts. And as I'm reading this, I want you to be thinking, how do you feel about Board Game Hot Takes? And would you like to leave a nice review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts? Mr. Batman 87, can you believe it? Michael Keaton left a review on our oh wait, no, that was Batman 89. Anyway, so Mr. Batman 87 left a review for us on Apple Podcasts. And the title is Entertainers in the Board Game. I know it's cut off here. Entertainers in something, in board games. But the review says this: recently discovered podcasts focused on tabletop games, and I'm so glad this particular group of hilarious and honest voices exist. My daily commute now exclusively features them, and I don't know what I'm going to do when I eventually catch up on all the episodes. I could go on forever about all the reasons why they're great and you should listen, but instead I'd kindly like to ask you to just press play. Enjoy. Really nice, Batman. I appreciate it. You definitely are the detective of all time, and I appreciate you. But anyway, if anyone else would like to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, it will help other people find the show. It tells us we should keep coming back and doing this. Also, if you get the opportunity to mention us on social media, mention us when you pick up games that we recommended, it will let other people know that you appreciate our insights and you get some value out of it. So thank you again to all of our listeners. We've been growing rapidly over the last few months, and we're really excited to be a part of this. We got something big and exciting planned for episode 100, and we're going to get you, the listeners, involved in it. So some more news coming up on that very soon. Until next week, take care, everybody.
Good night, all.
Bye-bye.